Welcome everyone to the B League Pick'ems show. It's your boy here, Dan at the B League Says, coming at you with a Thanksgiving Day slate pick'em prop show for going for two live, and we're going to get straight into it. We're going to look at these Thanksgiving Day prop bets that we have here, following the normal format that we normally do, as it would be. As such, normally we would roll on a Wednesday and then it comes out on a Thursday and a Saturday and a Sunday, but because we have a weird concoction of games, we have a Black Friday day game, Vegas and the Chiefs as well. We're going to throw that into the mix for today as well. So we're going to throw about 5 pick and props on behalf of Underdog Fantasy. Promo code GF2 for 100% match your deposit up to 250 big ones. You can go online. You can see some of the rolling props they have. Obviously, they're trying to get a few more sales in for Thanksgiving. I understand. I respect the hustle, Underdog. I really do. But if you go online, you check out their app, and they're basically telling Feast Week, 50% deposit match, max bonus, $25. Deposit now. So they're trying to weasel a few extra bucks in off from you for Thanksgiving, not like the turkey. Turkey is expensive enough as it would be. It doesn't really matter. We are going to talk about some pick and props for the Thanksgiving Day slate. We're going to come at you on Sunday for the rest of the slate a little bit later on in the week. But as it would be, we are looking at the Thanksgiving games. Don't worry about this. This is live. This isn't a ticker that's saying Tuesday. No, this is Wednesday. I'm actually real today, which is interesting. But yeah, a couple of, hey mate, hey Jamie, how you going, buddy? Jamie's in the chat, which is fantastic. How you going, brother? Hope the cold in Cleveland has calmed down a bit. I just spent the last couple of days at Disney sweating my face off. There we go. Sweating my face off. I was drinking mojitos at a pool at 10 o'clock yesterday morning, and here I am back in New York, cold as shit. It's fantastic. I couldn't be happier. Either way, we are looking at the Bears at Lions, Giants at Cowboys, which 4:30 couldn't be a better time to put that shit show on. Dolphins at Packers for the main event of the Thanksgiving slate. And we also have Raiders at Chiefs on Black Friday or Friday, as it would be. I don't know why that needs to happen. It seems like such a stupid idea. Hey, let's get them playing on a random Friday. Yeah, why not? Either way, we're going to look at pick number 1 of our pick and props this week. And we're going to go to one of my favorite players in the NFL. I think he's one of yours too. Jahmyr Gibbs, higher than 71.5 rushing yards versus Chicago. Look, the risk is constantly baked into his props because obviously the committee approach, which has been incredibly successful for Detroit, right? So like they're very successful at their at their committee approach to the running back game. And I feel like that's always going to hold his numbers back. So we can see him at 71.5. Could you imagine what this would be if Montgomery wasn't there? This would be absolutely madness. So he's still 4th in the league for rushing yards with over 880, while Montgomery is still in the top 20 with over 600 for himself. So they're doing quite well as a running back tandem. I don't think that's any surprise. I'm not breaking any ground news there. But to see him at 71.5 while he still has Montgomery, it's incredibly generous, I think. Now, where I feel good about this prop bet is really Jahmyr Gibbs. He's ripping off big plays, and I feel that's something that we need to exploit. In over half his games this year, he's had 6 plays go over 20 yards and 2 games with plays over 40. So he's looking at that opportunity to have massive plays, and he's going to get us to that point with at least 1 or 2 of them per week. And I know that sounds like very industrious and thinking, hey, this is a normal thing. Kind of is for him. So he's also gone under 65 yards 3 times this year. So that's not that bad considering we're trying to get the 71.5. So we know he's going 65 or higher in nearly, 80% of his games. And that's something that we really want to look at. So form is truly on his side. When you look at Chicago, top 8 in allowing rushing yards this year, and I've allowed some big weeks of late. You look at Aaron Jones last week, over 100 yards. Josh Jacobs and Ramondre Stevenson over 70 yards as well. James Conner over 100 as well. So the recent form is the Bears are allowing teams to run on, which is such a weird thing because, I don't know, I think of the Bears and I think of a stout run defense, and it just doesn't seem to be there for them anymore. Gibbs has explosive plays in him along with the current usage, and I feel like that's pretty good. Do you guys have turkeys in Australia, or do you just eat sheep for Thanksgiving? We don't do Thanksgiving. We don't do Thanksgiving. No, we such a feckless holiday for you Americans. For the rest of the world, we don't do anything like that. Do you put shrimp, prawns, buddy? No shrimp, prawns, and people eat them everywhere. I guess I wouldn't. You want to eat cockroaches of the sea? Be my guest. We're going to look at pick number 2 here. We're going to go Jordan Love lower than 242.5 passing yards. Look, some part of this Packers team, I know they were 8-3 or whatever, doesn't pass the smell test. For some reason, for me, I know that sounds really harsh to say because we could talk about, okay, Love got hurt week 1 in Brazil. We forget about that. And then Malik Willis took over and they were kind of slow to get going. And then it took him a few weeks to kind of ramp up a bit. And to be fair, at times, I feel like Love is part of the reason why. And it's something about him at this point. Like we look at last year, I'll get into that a little bit. We take a trip down memory lane quickly. A year ago when Love finally took over Aaron Rodgers, took the league by storm in his quote unquote debut season, which was really year 4 for him. Part of that was the total yards and the touchdowns with a virtual rookie group of receivers. You look at Jaden Reed was a rookie receiver. Wicks was in there with him as well. Dubs was okay. Christian Watson was okay with Rodgers the year before. He really was a red zone fiend. He still is. And it was Musgrave and Kraft and all that sort of stuff. It was very much a rookie team, and they kind of blew everyone away. So I understand that. And you look at what he did last year. It was the 11 intercepts that he had, which people couldn't fathom. He was so. I don't even know the word to say for it. It was just one of those things. You're like, wow, he only threw 11 intercepts in his first season. That's kind of amazing. He's already matched that in 2023, and I feel like that luck factor is it's starting to jam its way away, and I worry about them for that. Now, you can say they're quietly plugging away, and they have been, and I respect that. Look, he's matched his what? He's actually throwing more yards per game this year. He's 244 last year, 249 now, but it doesn't look like it. And it's one of those things where you look at Christian Watson, he's hurt again, always. Dubs is hurt now. You've got a bunch of guys giving you around 40 yards per game. It's like he's got 6 or 7 guys giving him 40 yards to get into that 240, 250. And all it takes is for one of those guys to drop, and it feels like he doesn't get there. And of late, it seems to be going that way. So no one is standing out in that regard. The problem is when you play a tough passing defense like Miami, who has the ability to take 1 or 2 of those pieces away, where do you go from there? And I really worry about that for him at this point where you go, man, Reed hasn't really been in form. Watson hasn't been in form. Dubs has been okay. Everyone's favourite Dontavian Wicks has been non-existent, and Tucker Kraft's going to give you 40 yards. And it's like at that point, you're sitting there going, the Dolphins have avoided the 5th fewest passing yards a game this year at 211 on average. They're on a bit of a resurgence of their own. So I'm looking at this going, I don't feel like 242 is something where he will get to this week in that regard. For me, and you look at how Green Bay's been playing, they've been smashing the run game at the moment. Josh Jacobs isn't letting up at all. He's been phenomenal. And I understand on a short week, they're going to probably get some Emmanuel Wilson and Chris Brooks worked in as well. I still don't think it's going to stray from what that plan is of running the ball. Short week, hard to prep for versus an incredible pass there. I'm going to take the lower total here for Jordan Love at 242.5. I'm not saying that he can't get there. He's clearly talented enough. And the players, if they are switched on prime time, they could well do that. But I'm looking at this team right now, and it just doesn't seem to look like it's clicking for some reason. Even though they're getting some wins and all that, it just doesn't seem like that pass game is what it should be with the players that he has around him. So Love, we're going to go lower on 242.5. And I looked at the player props for the receivers as well. And I'm sitting there going, okay, Reed's at about 45. Dubs is at this. Kraft is at that. They're all low totals. And that's the problem that I have here is that if one of those guys is away, and look, it's a good reason to go over on one or two of them. I understand that. But then you look at who they're playing, and I'm sitting there going, those low totals against this team, something doesn't add up, and I'm going to stay away from that in that regard. And by proxy, I'm going to just say Jordan Love, he's going to be the guy that takes the hit in that regard. We're going to go pick number 3 here. We're going to go to the Giants game at Dallas, which is just going to be fucking abysmal. We're going to look at Rico Dowdle higher than 66.5 rushing yards. And we're going to go for a touchdown as well. We're going to go higher than half a touchdown against the Giants. Look, the Giants have quit this year. That's obvious. They can tell you what they want in terms of PR and all that sort of garbage. They're done. They've booked their trip. They're away. It's a couple of weeks earlier than normal. Normally it's around that week 15 mark. Okay, we're done. We're done. We've got our 6 wins for the year. We can quit. No, they are fucking gonzo. And that's fantastic. That's what I want to see on Thanksgiving. But, they're getting hammered on the ground. They're allowing the 5th most rushing yards this year on the ground. And they've been a bit tighter with touchdowns, only allowing the 8, which you'd think the Giants are giving up opportunities, but they've only allowed the 8 touchdowns on the ground, which is kind of good for a defense like that. Look, they got Thibodeau back last week. I still think that Thibodeau, Lawrence, and Burns is a phenomenal front. I really like that for them. If they can add around that, that's fantastic. Ojolari was a good addition as well. Well, he was already there, but he kind of stepped in when Thibodeau wasn't there. You look at guys like Okereke, he's been a little bit quieter this year, but they have a decent young team there. If they can get that offense going, they might be a decent team in a year or two's time. Thank you, Danny Dimes, for your service. Piss off, you wanker. But either way. So they're doing okay on the ground, but I'm banking on opportunity here a lot for the Cowboys and Dowdle getting a few shots to them at least. Like, they moved the ball really well against Washington. We can rag on Cooper Rush all we want, and that's fine. That's easy to do and sometimes valid. But they were able to move the ball against a team like Washington, who have been a pretty decent team this year. And okay, they allow for a lot of these things, and we're okay with that. Dowdle went to town on the Commanders last week. He had over 80 on the ground. He's been over 70 in 3 of his last 6. He's put Zeke and Cook to bed. It's his backfield now, and I can see a world where, we're looking at roughies for like MVP of the day. I think Rico Dowdle could be that guy that we might want to flurry a couple bucks on there in regards to that. He might be the MVP of the day if we're looking at such a thing. We're going to go to pick 4 here. We're going to go back to that Green Bay and Miami game, and I really wish I didn't. I really don't want to go back to this because, again, talking about incredible players that, we tend to like to watch. When he's on fire, he's a fantastic thing. We saw a glimpse of that this week. We saw Jalen Waddle have an absolute day against the Patriots this week. He went for over $130, which is fantastic, and a touchdown. Good for him. Thank you for doing it in week 12 when everyone's seasons are dead. You lunatic. Very good. Yeah, it's a Jonnu Smith week. That's the most inspiring thing I could ever hear, right? Oh, my God. How's Miami doing so well? Well, it's Jonnu Smith again. Holy shit. That's what happened to the Dolphins. They turned to Jonnu Smith. That's what happened. I understand. I spoke about this in our show previously, and I understand the idea of protecting Tua, right? Getting rid of the ball quickly, getting it to the guys that are closest to him, not waiting for these plays to break down. If he's holding onto the ball, he's going to get. So I understand that. So I understand why you're going to dump it off to Achan and you're going to dump it off to Jonnu Smith. I 100% understand that. But your best players are literally starving in Waddle and Hill. And as soon as I actually turn to them, they actually do all right. And you can put some fear into some teams. They don't do that. First, that Giants D. Thanks, Gator. Yes, wonderful. Hi, Charlene. Hope you're well. It's one of those things where you're sitting there going, why not the Giants D, man? They're not that good, man. They're okay. They've got some good pieces. They'll be all right in a year's time. Give them a year. But we're going to look at Jalen Waddle. We're going to go lower than 45.5 receiving yards at Green Bay. Look, if you think last week's demolition of the Pats is the kickstart you need from him, you're dead wrong. Look, the guy was barely pushing 3 targets a game as well, but his yards. Look, this week he had over 100. That's great. But it was only the 3rd time this season he had surpassed 46 yards since week 1. Let that sink in a little. He's only gone over 45 yards 4 times all year. And all of a sudden, he could do it on the Packers. On the road. In that freezing cold tundra. I don't think so. Against the team giving up the 5th fewest yards to receivers this year. I don't think so. Waddle is Gabe Davis? God damn, Gator. That's that ain't great. Waddle is Gabe Davis? Really? Wow. I don't know. Waddle knows how to run in a diagonal line. I never saw Gabe Davis do that. Imagine Gabe Davis trying to run in like a slant. He'd have snapped his ankle. It wouldn't have happened. Pick number 5 we're going to go to a little bit of fun here. We're going to go a tight end double banger. That's what we're going to do, a tight end double banger. We're going to go to the Chiefs-Raiders game, or Raiders at Chiefs if you want. We're going to go Travis Kelce higher than 55.5 receiving yards and a Noah Gray touchdown. Yes, we're going to pivot from Travis Kelce from scoring this week, even though he did all right last time he faced. The last time he faced Travis Kelce anyway, faced the Raiders, he plugged, 10 for 90 and a touchdown. So thanks, Vegas. I wonder if they saw that coming. The one game you can always say, Vegas, didn't they see that coming? Is when they play Vegas. It's fantastic. So, he cleaned them out last time he played them, and that was on the road as well. And look, it shouldn't be surprising to see him do this to the Raiders. He's been doing this whole time. Look, he's had over 55.5 13 times. He's had 12 touchdowns on him. He's had a good run. And add to it, he's been over 60 in 6 of his last 8 this year. So he's done all right in that regard. He's been helping the punters hitting the highs anyway. So he's in good form. And the Raiders have afforded the 6th most yards per game to the tight end position. So we know, that one game though. Yeah, it was that one game. We're going to ride that to the death, Gator. Thank you very much. They do allow 6th most yards position to the tight ends anyway. So we're going to run with that. Travis Kelce's going to have himself a day in that regard. I don't like him for scoring though. I know he did last time. But we're going to go to Noah Gray for a higher touchdown, obviously, because we get a bit of a booster to it. I think it's 2.75x booster on Noah Gray. Look, funnily enough, over the last 2 weeks, he's actually doubled Travis Kelce's touchdown total. And I know that sounds like a weird thing to say out loud, but in the last 2 weeks, Noah Gray scored, 4 touchdowns to Travis Kelce's 2 for the year. Travis Kelce scoring 2 touchdowns for a year, that kind of feels like that has to bounce back as well. Like, I don't like the idea that that's going to sit at under 5 for the year. I could see him having a run towards the end of the year. He might get 5 or 6 in some of those garbage games. But then again, if he gets pulled, week 17, week 18, when the AFC is wrapped up, it's kind of a weird thing. Travis Kelce. I like to call it his Jason Whitney years. He's starting to hit those Jason Whitney years where you're like, okay, he's a top 10 tight end. He's going to get you 750, 800 yards, 5 or 6 touchdowns. He's really starting to thrive in that area. He runs the same 5 routes and no one can figure it out. It's wild. But anyway, Noah Gray, funnily enough, he's doubled his touchdown production for the year. Add that booster to it. The Raiders have given up the second most touchdowns to the position this year. So with a booster on toe, why not get on it? I don't see why we wouldn't. It's an easy way to do our Wednesdays. We're going live on a Wednesday. Kids are home from school. Thanksgiving tomorrow. Hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving. I hope you guys get more stuffed than the turkeys. How about that? I hope you guys get more stuffed than the turkeys. I feel like that's a nice thing to say. Either way, we're going to wrap this up. We're going to go over the prop bets for this week's Pick'em show by Underdog Fantasy. Promo code GF2 for 100% match deposit. Up to $250 on your initial outlay. There's literally 3 people watching. So, if you guys haven't used this yet, the fuck's wrong with you? And if you have, find a different promo code. Leave me alone. Either way, we're going to look at the Bears at Lions, Giants at Cowboys, Dolphins at Packers, and Raiders at Chiefs for the Black Friday game. These 4 prop games, or 4 games in the NFL for the Pick a Prop show for Going for Two Live. Find us in our Discord. It's free. You can bother Gator for prop bet advice over there if you want. Pick number 1, we're looking at Jahmyr Gibbs, higher than 71.5 rushing yards versus Chicago. Pick number 2, Jordan Love, lower than 242.5 passing yards at home to Miami. Pick number 3, Rico Dowdle, higher than 66.5 rushing yards and a half a touchdown. We're going over that versus the Giants at home. Pick number 4, Jalen Waddle on the road, lower than 45.5 receiving yards at Green Bay. And pick number 5, tight end double banger, Travis Kelce, higher than 55.5 receiving yards and a Noah Gray touchdown over half at 2.75x. Thanks for staying with me this week. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy yourselves. I'll be back later in the week to talk about the Sunday slate. Safe bets, happy punts, cheers, and goodbye.